Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about the Taliban takeover Afghanistan. So without further ado, let's get started. Taliban has completely occupied Afghanistan. The Afghanistan government has fallen and the president Ashraf Ghani has fled the country. Reports claim that he fled to Tajikistan and the other conspiracies claim he fled to Uzbekistan. All the other countries are trying to evacuate their citizens as soon as possible. On 15th August 2021, Taliban entered Kabul and went inside the presidential palace. Denmark, Norway, Sweden, Germany are in the line of countries who have evacuated and shut down their embassies in Afghanistan. Even the US embassy has completely been evacuated. The remaining people are trying to escape Afghanistan via the Kabul airport. US President Joe Biden claims that Taliban has only about 85,000 fighters and the Afghan army has 3 lakh soldiers and it is well equipped as any other army in the world. So the Taliban would not be able to take over Afghanistan. Experts claim that Taliban would take 3 to 4 months, but in reality they took only a few weeks and little and no resistance was shown by the Afghan army. But why? Why did the Afghan army show no resistance? There are many reasons, but the major reason is the demoralization of the Afghan army. When Donald Trump was the president of the United States, he signed a peace treaty with the Taliban. And when Joe Biden came to power, he ordered the withdrawal of the US troops from Afghanistan. This demoralized the Afghan army. The Talibanians also used several psychological operations against the Afghan army. They bombarded the soldiers with text messages urging them to surrender and cooperate with the Taliban if they wished to live and wanted the security of their family. Several Afghan soldiers deserted the army and cooperated with the Taliban. The Taliban rules for women in Afghanistan is perhaps no less than hell, especially then if they impose the same rules they imposed during 1996 to 2001. Now the interesting fact here is that the Taliban government is denying these new conspiracies and the Taliban government is claiming that they will give women the right to education and give them equal rights as men. Women will be allowed to move out of the house alone and will be allowed to work, but they do have to wear the hijab. Now let us understand the history of Taliban. Talibanians were ultra-conservative political, social and religious faction. They emerged in Afghanistan in the mid-1990s following the withdrawal of Soviet troops and the collapse of Afghanistan's communist regime and the subsequent breakdown in civil war. It began as a small force of Afghan religious students and scholars seeking to confront crime and corruption. The faction owes its name Taliban. The Taliban faced significant resistance, especially after it asserted its own interpretation of law and order. It combined a strict religious ideology with a mixture of Deobandi traditionalism and the Wahhabi Puritanism, with a conservative Pashtun social code to create a brutally repressive regime. The Taliban even allowed Osama bin Laden to refuge in Afghanistan, who had helped to organize a network of foreign-born Muslim fighters during the Afghan war. That network, Al-Qaeda, had evolved into a network of Islamic militants who fought a violent struggle to free the Islamic world from non-Muslim influence and had orchestrated several attacks against the United States. Even after bin Laden and Al-Qaeda were found responsible for the attacks on the World Trade Center in New York City and the Pentagon outside Washington, D.C. had occurred on September 11, 2001. The Taliban refused to extradite bin Laden. The United States and its allies began bombarding Afghanistan in October and supported the efforts of the Northern Alliance, a group of anti-Taliban factions in Afghanistan that had been resisting the Taliban movement. A deal with the United States was signed in the late February 2020. In exchange for a full withdrawal of the US troops over a period of 14 months, the Taliban agreed to end its attacks on US forces and prevent Al-Qaeda, the Islamic State in Iraq, and the Levant to prevent their affiliates from operating in Afghanistan. The deal also included an agreement to begin talks with the central government within 10 days, but the negotiations were delayed until September because of the central government's reluctance to carry out a prisoner swap promised to the Taliban by the United States. Now let us understand about Osama bin Laden. Bin Laden was the leader of a broad-based Islamic extremist movement implicated in the numerous acts of terrorism against the United States and several Western countries. He was a son in a wealthy Saudi family. He joined the Muslim resistance in Afghanistan after 1979 Soviet invasion of the country. Following his homecoming, he enraged at the presence of the US troops in Saudi Arabia during the Persian Gulf War. And through a network of like-minded Islamic militants known as Al-Qaeda, he launched a series of terrorist attacks. These attacks included the bombings of the World Trade Center in New York City in 1993, the US embassies in Kenya and Tanzania in 1998. Bin Laden issued several legal opinions calling on Muslims to take up jihad against the US, and in 2001, a group of militants under his direction launched the September 11 attacks, which led to the death of about 3,000 people in the United States. The US thereby demanded bin Laden's extradition from Afghanistan, where he was sheltered by the country's Taliban militia, and launched attacks on Taliban and Al-Qaeda forces when the ultimatum was not met. When the collapse of Taliban, bin Laden and his associates went into hiding. In May 2011, he was killed by the US forces operating in Pakistan. On the other hand, if we talk about America in the current situation, it is quite humiliating for them. Several people are terming this Afghani situation as Joe Biden's Saigon movement. The US Secretary has denied this comparison and said that the US mission in Afghanistan was to take action against the people responsible for the 9/11 attacks. But the question arises, bin Laden was killed in 2011, but why did the US Army stay till 2021 until it was forced out? After 2015, the US Defense Department spent $3.8 billion giving military contacts to this company in Afghanistan known as floor bills. What I'm trying to say is, during wars, often big companies profit in millions and billions. During a war, they promoted the US to stay in Afghanistan till the US Army was forced to leave. Now, if we take a look at the situation from a geopolitical perspective, there are two countries who haven't evacuated their embassies in Afghanistan. These two countries are China and Russia. This means directly or indirectly, China and Russia are in the favor of Taliban's movement and seizure of power. This is the complete contrast to the Western countries like UK, which is saying that they will not recognize Taliban as the official government of Afghanistan. This is because the Russia and China are taking control of Afghanistan like the US and before that the Soviet Union had done. I will discuss the history of Afghanistan in a later video. Now, how is India in this situation? This whole situation is a dilemma for India as well, because the Indian border is not far away from Afghanistan. India has only four choices. Should India recognize the Taliban? Should India pressurize the Taliban by sending military? Should India pressurize Taliban indirectly to hold democratic elections? Or should India acknowledge the Taliban and ignore them? What out of the four should India do? I'm leaving this choice to you guys. Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, please like the video, share it and subscribe to my channel. See you guys in the next video. I will attach the link to this presentation in the description below. Jai Hind.